How are you? My name is Joji and this is my knitting journal number 49. I am a knitter in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I like to record knitting journals to talk about what goes on in my life and in my work. And I am happy you're here and I hope that you enjoy this journal. I haven't recorded in a few weeks, several weeks, but I'm happy that I'm here and I have so much to share with you. Today is Saturday, 22 of August, and it's a beautiful day. I can see already the spring coming, even though today is very cold. I can see a lot more light coming into our house, and that makes me very happy. As you know, I'm in the southern hemisphere, so we're moving on to the spring and onto the summer. We've been confined for the whole winter. We are still under lockdown in Argentina, although some of the regulations are a little bit looser and we can move around a little bit more. Still, I think everyone here is eager to be able to go outside and enjoy the sunlight and the warmth again. So I have so much to tell you about and so many things I can't show you, but I still think that we will have a nice and entertaining knitting journal to share today, and I hope you like it. So first of all, I want to talk about a big knit along that's coming to my Ravelry group. Every year we host a fall knit along on my Ravelry group. It's called Designs by Joji. We do it on Ravelry because it allows us to open conversation threads, to open team threads. So everyone who's making a cardigan joins the cardigan team, everyone making a pullover joins the pullover team, and then we have shawl teams and small items teams, and yeah, it's really a lot of fun. It's the 9th year we do it. So it's been a very long time. My moderators and I were actually checking when was the first one, and we are very proud that we can do it again this year. And also it's an opportunity for me to connect with a lot of people. I said this on my Instagram post. I know that a lot of people cannot join Ravelry right now because it's hurting them, but it is my opportunity to connect with those people who can't use other forms of social media like Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. So Ravelry it is for the fall knit along. However, if you can't join us in the conversational threads on Ravelry and you still want to make patterns for the fall knit along, we will be using the hashtag Joji Fall KAL 2020, and we will be drawing random prizes for anyone sharing their progress photos and their finished objects or whatever you want to share about the Joji Fall Knit Along on Instagram. So that is another way to participate. There are already a lot of people using the hashtag on Instagram, and it's super active there too. The only difference with Ravelry is that on Ravelry we can have threads where people can comment and support each other, and we will do more prizes for the Ravelry threads probably than we will do for Instagram, but there will be prizes for both instances. So how can you join? If you go to the Ravelry group, there will be a thread that says the sign-ups are open, and we allow people to sign up for this knit along from August 15 to August 30. That is the time frame in which we sign up new projects. Every project gets assigned a number, and then we draw prizes according to those numbers. Then what else? We have sponsors, we have a lot of prizes, and I know that there are more prizes coming, but if you go to the Ravelry group, you will see a thread with everyone who's sponsoring our knit along. We have prizes from Neighborhood Fiber Company, from Julie Aslin, from my friend Ale from Pura Hilados, from Yarn Experiments. Vogue Knitting Live is sponsoring us with 6 classes for the winners. So 6 different winners will win a class for a Vogue Knitting Live live event. Then Zombie Knitting Network is a virtual knitting community and classes and all kinds of online events. It's a yearly membership organized by the Stockinette Zombies. Is another great podcast if you're looking for a new podcast to watch. And they are also donating us 3 memberships for our knit along. And also we have 2 project bags from our own company, Joji Co. So the knit along starts on September 1st, and I will do a live YouTube that day. But remember, you have time to sign up until August 30. And probably this is the last recording I do before the knit along officially starts. So yeah, I wanted to mention that at the beginning of the video, just in case you don't watch everything before that happens. So for this knit along, I also have a discount running for all my patterns. And if you use the code Joji Fall KAL, you can get a 20% discount on any of my self-published patterns. So that's anything that you can find on Ravelry or on my website. And it won't apply for any pattern that is sold by a magazine like or a company like Brooklyn Tweed, Madeline Tosh, Pom Pom patterns or Line patterns. I think they are both now self-published, but anything that's sold under a magazine and not under my own shop, I cannot apply my codes to those, so those patterns are not included. But you can, of course, knit those for the knit along. So let's say you have a Pom Pom magazine with one of my patterns that you wanna knit, that's totally eligible for the knit along. So that's knit along chat. I think that's all I wanted to say today about that. And now let's move on to my knitting. I have some finished objects and some work in progress, but not a lot. So first I'll show you my finished objects for today. I finished this pair of socks that I was making for my son, Nano. They are size 43 European, so that's maybe like a US 11. And I used a 3x1 ribbing. That is my favorite for socks because it makes for an elastic sock, so it fits nice and they don't fall off when you're wearing, but they are not super ribbed, so it's more like a flat rib, and it's my favorite for socks, and especially for manly socks. If I'm making a vanilla sock, I might make them in stockinette stitch if I'm being very lazy, but then what happens is that I don't love wearing those socks that much. So I prefer either a sock that has a little patterning or some kind of rib pattern, because that makes my socks fit better. So I usually do either a 2x1 rib or a 3x1 rib. So these are Nanos. He picked his yarn. He picked the yarn that I used. This is, I don't have the label with me, I think. I had it yesterday, but now I don't see it. This is the Wool Barn yarn. The Wool Barn, it's a tweed yarn. It's called Tweed Sock or Sock Tweed. I don't remember which one. and the colorway is called Silver. It's a pearl gray with knobs of viscose fiber in black, brown, and beige, and they are very manly. I wrote a post about my son yesterday on Instagram because it makes me super happy to make socks for him. He's very knit-worthy for socks. There are other things that I've knit for him in the past that he doesn't enjoy that much. He will wear them, but not so happily. He's probably not that comfortable with other things that I knit for him, but the socks, he really likes them. He asks for them. He wears them every time, like every day he wears hand knit socks. He's stolen all my hand knit socks already, so well, he never did, but he won't care if they are very feminine, if they are lazy, if they have, you know, very girly motifs or girly lace, or if they are hot pink. He has stolen all my socks from my drawer, and now that I've come to realize how much he likes them, I'm mostly making pairs of socks for him, and he gets to pick more suitable colors for his own dressing style. But I always say my boy is very serious when he dresses, but he doesn't care. He steals my socks anyway. So these are done. And my other knitting work in progress is this pullover that you haven't seen, because it basically knitted itself. It went so quickly, so quickly, and I am in love. This is a new pattern that I'm writing today. I'm probably going to have it ready for testing soon, and I'm going to publish it while the knit along is running, hopefully, because it's a very quick pattern. So this is the yarn. If you remember, a couple of episodes ago I talked about some yarn that I had received in the mail. It was yarn from Ritual Dyes, and it came from Portland, Oregon, and it had been stuck in customs for weeks, and I thought I was going to have to pay a fortune to get it out, but then it came out without any taxes, which was unexpected. And inside the box, I didn't know what there was inside the box, but I loved everything. Every single yarn looked like it had been picked for me and for my own color preferences. So I had to cast on as soon as I finished with my interpretations projects, which I will talk about after this one. And as soon as I felt I had everything for the book under control, I had to cast on something with this yarn because I was just loving it too much. What a surprise it was to like it even more when I was knitting. This is incredibly soft yarn. I don't know, I talked to Rachel the dyer to ask her if she did something special with it, or if it was just me enjoying the color very much that it felt so nice. This is not cheap yarn, but I love it and I super recommend it. It's so soft that I really like. Again, I say this yarn was gifted to me, but you know, everything I say in this journal is very objective. I don't need to say nice things because I'm not like that. So you can trust anything that I recommend. It's because I really like, and I really like this yarn. So this is Ritual Dyes. Her base is Breathless Decay, or Breathless, and I use the colors Hematite and Alabaster, which were picked by her and sent by surprise. And what else? This is a round yoke pullover. It has some striping and some lace. And as I said, the pattern is going to be out very soon. I am sure you'll all really like this because I'm super excited about this sweater, and I usually get a good gut feeling of how things are going to work out. I'm really happy with this one, and it's going to come as quickly as possible because I also want to get it out. I only use 3 skeins of the main color and 1 skein of the contrasting color for a total of 4 skeins of DK for my size, which is a medium. So the yarn goes a long way, even though it's a DK. It has some positive ease, it doesn't have a lot of positive ease, so I designed it to be worn with 4 inches of positive ease, which is a standard fitting. It's kind of like a close fitting sweater with 4 inches of positive ease. So it's not a boxy fit, and that's probably why I didn't use as much yarn as with other of my designs which have more positive ease. But yeah, it fits really nicely. It's not tight. It's just a really nice sweater. I haven't named it yet, but I wanted to show it to you because I'm so excited about it. And yeah, so I mentioned I finished interpretations projects, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that because it's so important for me every year. This is a project that I do every year together with my friend, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about this volume. So this is last year's volume. This is Interpretations Volume 6. It came out in March last year, so we are publishing a year and a half later than the previous volume. And you can see this is Volume 6, this is Volume 5, this is Volume 4. Vera and I have been working together since 2013, and we put together these collections that are soft cover books published by Pom Pom magazine, Pom Pom Press, and they help us distribute our book, and they help us getting into book format, and they help us with adjusting the files and everything. But Vera and I do everything. We do the photography, we do of course the pattern writing, we do the layout, and yeah, everything we do together with a lot of work. And this is what you can expect inside of one of our books. Every book has 12 patterns. I'm showing last year's has socks, and I realized I never get to show interpretations very well, so I wanted to give you a bigger insight of what our books look like. Each pattern has an introduction, and then of course the pattern with schematics, and yeah, so charts and written instructions. Everything is a lot of work, and as you can imagine, more than half of my productive year goes into making these books, and then suddenly it feels like we put the book out and then boom, we're on to the next project. And we never get to talk about each project as much as we talk about other projects when we publish them individually. So this year, for a change, I've been sharing a lot of my process, designing each pattern for interpretations. I made 6 new patterns, and Vera and I photographed the collections last Saturday. We were planning to photo shoot in England together at the end of July, but of course with the pandemic we couldn't do that. So we decided to do the photos on the same day, even though we were apart. So Vera asked one of her friends to photograph her patterns, and I asked my husband Charlie to photograph my patterns. And yeah, we did that. We went to our summer house here in Buenos Aires. We are not allowed to go to the summer house except if we have a work permit that requires us to move around the city, and this was a work event. We had to photo shoot garments, and we needed a different setting than our living room, so we were granted the permit and we went to the summer house, and it was a fabulous day, and we got to spend time outside and breathing fresh air and walking, and we were super lucky. So we woke up really early. The day was splendid. It was sunny, it was cold but sunny, and everything worked out. Everything. I do everything. I did my makeup, I did my hair, I did my wardrobe planning, and I did my I chose the settings for each change, for each garment or accessory. In 5 hours we were done. I think 5 or 6 hours we were done photo shooting the entire collection, my side of the collection, which is a really good time given that it was just the two of us. So that's done. I am not going to show any more of my interpretations patterns on this journal because I want you to be surprised a little bit, even though you've seen many tidbits of them in either on my Instagram or here. I still want you to be surprised by the photos and the finished patterns, but I can tell you that I'm super happy. My side of the collection has one sort of basic pullover, sort of basic but not so basic cardigan, and a cabled coat. I usually have a bigger and longer piece in my collections because that's what I'm most passionate about. I also designed two shawls, a classic triangle and a not so classic triangle, and a little cowl. And then Vera has a cable cardigan, two pullovers, one with more like a color blocked effect and another one with sort of like a color work effect. So color block and color work. And then she's got a crescent shaped shawl, a triangular shawl, and a beanie. So the book is coming out in late November, and it will be available in print format. The print format books include a code with a digital download code, and then you can also buy just the digital version on Ravelry. Yeah, so speaking of the books, I have good news. I brought in a few copies of past issues of our collections to Joji Co, our online shop, in which I started selling our project bags, but now I discovered I can also sell other things that sometimes people want. I brought in the books because there weren't any stores who were bringing interpretations to Argentina, just because a lot of the stores here don't really know that there's a demand for them. Many stores are owned by people who haven't yet changed their mindset and still think that knitters are not ready to invest in their hobbies, so they don't want to bring imported books or imported yarns or more expensive things because they think that knitters won't invest in them here in Argentina, but actually that's not true. There is not a massive demand, but there is a demand for these books, and I felt sad that no one was bringing them, so I decided to bring them myself. So I imported some books into Argentina, and now they are available to the whole world. We ship worldwide from here, so if you ever get one of our project bags, or if you just want to get the books, our shipping is really good, and you can find them in our online store, which is jojico.com. And also, and this is mostly just for Argentine knitters because I didn't bring a lot, but also because I was already ordering these books from Pom Pom magazine, I brought in some issues of Pom Pom. Pom Pom is soon releasing their newer issue, so this is issue 33, and I brought issue 33 and issue 32 to the shop. So this is the current issue, but now they are already sharing all the previews and all the pattern pages for their newest issue, which is not out yet, which is issue 34. So issue 33 is summer. I know I am late for this for the northern hemisphere, but it's very timely here in the southern hemisphere because, as I mentioned, we are going into spring. So I brought the spring issue and I brought the summer issue, and I wanted to show you some of the things that I like the most of issue 33. So this tank top is one of my favorite things in the magazine. It's amazing. I am really impressed with the details in the texture pattern, and then this sort of like a macrame style band in the lower bodies that I really love. The designer for this top is Natalia Sinelshikova, and she used Queens & Co. Willet, and the pattern name is called Kupala. I love it. It's gorgeous. I'm loving the photography as always for Pom Pom. That's something that I always really loved. I've always loved Pom Pom because I could see myself reflected in their pages with every issue. Even not myself, but I felt like I had a place in their magazine. And I am loving the scrunchies. So there's this tutorial on how to make a crochet cotton scrunchie that I'm probably going to use. Don't want to show the pattern, but there's that. My friend Ale from Pura Laos, she's now selling some cotton yarn, and I might ask her for a ball of cotton to make some scrunchies. There are lots of other really beautiful things. If you are like me in the southern hemisphere, there are summer tops with cool colors, and if you are moving on to fall, you can still make beautiful shawls, beautiful wraps for the cooler weather. But I always love that there's such a cool mix of techniques in every magazine. You have color work, mosaic, crochet, brioche, all sorts of things. So if you're in Argentina and you're watching this, we have issues 32 and 33 of Pom Pom. Available for Argentine knitters mostly because we don't want to run out, and we know that other people in other parts of the world can get them easily and we can't. And then for everyone, we have interpretations available in jojico.com. We have volumes 4, 5 and 6. 1, 2 and 3 are sadly out of print, and I don't think we'll reprint those, and so we are onto the last items of volumes 4, 5 and 6. until we print the upcoming volume 7, which I'm super excited about. Yes, so that's about interpretations and books. Okay, I have 2 pattern features this journal to tell you about. They didn't come out this week, or maybe the previous one, but they came a long time ago, but I still haven't shared them here in the journal, so I will. The first one is a pair of socks that I've worn already. I've been trying to keep myself from wearing these before I've shown them for the journal, but sometimes I just can't. So let's see. I'm going to put them onto here. These are my, they're a little bit wrinkled to be put there. So I better show them like this. These are my Dreaming of Paris socks. These were made using 2 colors of Mahudli Blueface Leicester sock yarn. I have shown these many times here in the journal. They are very delicate socks, and they have this little lace pattern up here, and then it's stockinette stitch and alternating mini stripes of those 2 colors, and then I used the darker color for the heel and the lighter color for the toe. These were made by a lot of people already. I'm so excited you'll like them. Sorry, they are a little bit worn now because it's cold and I need my socks, but I only wore them a couple of times. I was trying to preserve them to show in the journal. And yeah, so they are called Dreaming of Paris. If you're looking for a nice cozy pair of socks to knit during this knit along, I highly recommend this pattern. And remember that you can use code HOJI4KNITALONG for a 20% discount. So that's one of the pattern features for today's journal. And the other one, which came out a little bit earlier. Let's see if you can see the texture there. So the light is really bad for that, but there you go. So now we're all thinking of the fall, but I released this one just in time before that. It's a linen tank top. I wanted to show you the textural details there in the front. It's a linen basic tank top. It's made using Espace Tricot Petite Linen Plus. So it's a sport weight linen yarn. And it's a staple piece. I call it the staple linen top because I think it just goes with any kind of wardrobe, any kind of outfit. You can wear a skirt and have a super chic outfit, and then you can wear this with shorts or jeans or whatever you like, and you know, dress it a little bit down and wear it as an everyday t-shirt. Mine is a little bit see-through, as you can see, and this becomes even more noticeable when you're using darker yarns. They become a little bit more see-through somehow because of the contrast with your own skin. So I like to wear mine with a little camisole underneath, so it creates a nice contrast with the higher neckline for the tank top. So you probably saw a couple of these photos, a couple of photos of this one at the beginning of the journal, so you know what I mean. And I can't wait for the warm weather to arrive so I can wear it properly. I was very cold the day we took those photographs, so we had to take them indoors inside our house because I was so cold. Then what else? Let me see. I had to make a list of all the things that I wanted to tell you about today. So I've talked about my featured patterns, I talked about my FOs. I have a couple of works in progress. The first one is, I don't know if you remember this one, but it's my blanket, which I've been working on for years, maybe 2 years, maybe. So this is a blanket. I am using marling all my gray or grayish leftovers, and I am making it in panels so that it's not that big. So this is one panel that I finished, and I am working on the second panel now, and I picked it up a few days ago because I finished my sweater and I didn't have another sweater or another big project on the needles, and I didn't know what to knit, and I saw this and said, hey, why am I not working on this anymore? So here it is. There's a lot of blanket done already. As you can see, I am a gray lover and I don't mind a gray blanket, and also I have a lot of gray leftovers. So what I'm doing is I keep this basket, which is a big basket, and it has all my leftovers. It has other things too. As I can see, there's a pen, crochet hook. I don't know what they're doing here. Tape measure, but yeah. So I keep a little lavender satchel here, just in case, because this spent a lot of time at our summer house. So there's that's my basket of grayish leftovers, and I just used 3 strands of different yarns, and it's turning out okay. As you can see, I'm using a more like a blue grayish one, but that doesn't matter because it all blends in, and I'm just using 6.5 millimeter needles. As you know, I like my straight needles. These are 6.5 bamboo and 3 strands of fingering weight mostly. Sometimes when I have maybe DK weight leftovers and I want to put them into my blanket, instead of using 3 strands, I use 1 of DK and 1 of fingering weight, like in certain sections of the blanket, but then it looks just the same. So this is one of the projects that I've been working on this week. When I go to bed or after doing the photo shoot, I really wanted to unwind, and I really can't unwind unless I am knitting. Someone said something like, I posted to Instagram, oh, I finished the socks, what now? And someone said, why don't you relax? And I thought, how can I relax without knitting, right? This is a panic moment. I don't have a project. What do I do? So it was a good thing that I had my blanket to work on. It's very satisfying to be using up all these scraps of gray yarn. It's intensely satisfying, I would say. It's one of the most satisfying projects that I've been working on. Whenever I use up a leftover ball, I feel so resourceful. And of course, I'm going to be done with my blanket after the winter is gone. This has been, for me, the coldest winter because we've been locked inside the house. And I don't know, I think we're all a little bit blue, so it's been so cold for me. And of course, when I finish this, it's not going to be cold anymore, or who knows, maybe it will take me so long that it will be ready for next autumn. That's more like it. So that's one of my works in progress, and the other, oh, it's here. The other one is a new pullover that I'm working on. So this is like this. So I'm working on a basic v-neck pullover or jumper. As you can see, I already reached the underarm for the back, and now I'm working the front, the right front. And then I have to pick up stitches and work the left front, and then join everything together in the underarm. So I'm slow today. I am using 2 yarns. I don't have, oh yeah. I am using 2 yarns. These two, this one doesn't have a tag, but I know exactly what it is. So I am stranding these two together to achieve, let's see if I can reach. So this is my swatch. It's super soft and fuzzy, and it has this heathered look to it because I am stranding 2 yarns together, and also because of the individual properties of each yarn. So this one is Tukuwool fingering. Tukuwool fingering, and the colorway is called Runo, and it's number 08. This was a gift from my friend Vera, and this is Tweed Silk Cloud. If you've heard of Silk Cloud, the mohair by Shibui, this is similar, but it has these little knobs that give it its tweedy look and texture, and it's a little bit thicker than the regular Silk Cloud. So I wanted to show you the swatch because especially the Tukuwool changes. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but you can definitely feel it when you touch it. The fabric changes quite a lot with blocking. And I was doing a little bit of trend research this week. I wanted to start a new sweater design, and I wasn't sure of what I wanted to do. I felt really free. Not that I felt prisoner with interpretations, but I had that responsibility that I had to I had a deadline with my friend. We had decided we would do the photo shoot on a certain day, and then all the garments had to be ready and blocked and finished and pretty. And then we also have a deadline for finished files. So everything has to be ready to send to Vera by the end of the month for her to work on the layout. So that means that all my patterns have to be tested before the end of August. So I had to write, and I was very disciplined with this. I didn't want to start any new projects or any new more complicated designs until I could get all my patterns out to my testers. So when I did that and I finished my striped pullover that I showed you, I found myself with a lot of creative energy and a lot of space to decide what I wanted to make next, and whether it was going to be something difficult or easy. I wanted it to be something relevant for the current fashion. So I've been looking at different brands that I like. I like to you know, look at anthropology. I like to look at more specific brands that always put out nice knitwear. I am really inspired by the knitwear by Agnes Studios, for example, or Isabel Maran, or I don't know this exactly, but I look at those, and then I look at stores like Zara, H&M, to see what like the massive trends are in terms of whether most sweaters are oversized or cropped or super long or more form-fitting. And then of course I take all of that and I make my own decisions and I make my own judgments and I make my own choices, but I am usually inspired by the trends. And even if you don't normally shop according to the season, everything you see around you is influenced by fashion, art, and trends and color, trends. And so I was looking at that and I decided to do a very simple, basic pullover with, of course, yarns that I have at home. And so I started that. But I was also very interested in color trends. I see a lot of caramel coming, a lot of caramel, more than gray, I would say, more than gray, definitely camel and caramel, rust, some dark eggplant, dark purple, some lilac, muted lilac. So very lovely autumnal palettes coming for this upcoming season in the Northern Hemisphere. And yes, so I started that sweater. And my mom is coming later today and I plan to join it in the underarms and give it to her because she hasn't knit for me in a while and I know that she's wanting me to give her something to help me with. So I'm going to rush and finish all the neck increases and join in the underarms, and then I will be free for another project while mom helps me with that one. Another thing that I want to start, even though it's not a work in progress technically right now, is a new pair of shorty socks. I wear my Flores socks all the time and other shorties that I made based on that same pattern. That's what I wear the most this winter, and probably the last one too. I like to wear sneakers. Maybe I'm not going to show you my sneakers right now because they are probably dirty and the position is not going to be very artistic. But yes, so I wear a lot my shorty socks and I want to make more pairs of those. Nano will have to wait for next pair because I want to make a couple of shorty socks for myself. He can also learn how to knit socks, but I don't think that's going to happen. So this is the yarn that I picked because I like my socks to be neutral because I dress wearing neutral tones and I wear a lot of white sneakers. So I think that I'm going to use this a lot. I bought this yarn. This is Knit Picks Straw Fingering. And I bought this yarn last year when I was trying to do a little research on more affordable yarn options. And I got myself some yarns from Knit Picks. This is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. As I said, it's the Straw Fingering Pearlescent Tonal. I don't know if that's the colorway. It might be. It might be Pearlescent Tonal because I don't see a colorway name anywhere else. Unless it's this number, which I don't think it is. And this is 462 yards, so it's a lot of yarn for socks. I've used Knit Picks Hawthorne in the past for socks and I loved it. It's a little bit thicker. I would say it's more towards the sport weight than the fingering weight. And I had purchased this stroll for a possible shawl idea. At the time, my problem with Knit Picks was that they didn't have a lot of color choices the day that I was placing my order. So I ordered what they had, and when it arrived, I wasn't so keen on the color combination that I have put together, so that shawl never happened. And I haven't tried it for socks, but I am going to see how it goes. So let me see what the current price for Knit Picks. Okay, so this is $14 a skein. It's not that cheap. If you buy the solid colors, it looks like it's $5 or $6 per 50 gram skein. So that's either 10 to 12 per 100 gram skein, and this is 14 because it has that hand-dyed quality to it. It is cheaper, maybe half as cheap as hand-dyed yarns from indie dyers that I've purchased. So that's definitely more affordable than other independent dyers yarns, but I don't know the quality to it, so I will do a proper review on how this works for socks. So this is the straw. I've already used the Hawthorne. I recommend it. It's fabulous. The socks hold up so well. They are like new, the ones that I've made with Knit Picks Hawthorne, and I'll let you know how these ones go for straw. I'm excited to design a new pair of shorties, and I hope you like my design too. So that's that for works in progress. And I have news. I have stash acquisitions. So this is what happened. After I received the box from Ritual Dies, I was a little bit frustrated, not because I had to pay taxes or ridiculous taxes or anything, but because initially I had been told that that even if I wanted to pay the taxes, I couldn't get my parcel because I wasn't an importer. So after I got my parcel, I asked around a little bit more. Why did it get stuck? Why didn't you offer to clear customs for me? And then you did it. And I got a little bit more information. So apparently in Argentina, if you send with DHL more than 3 skeins of the same item, so the same yarn in the same color, more than 3 skeins, then that is considered an import. They consider that you are not going to use those skeins for your own personal use, or those 3 items, you're not going to use them for yourself, and therefore you are a merchant and you are going to sell those goods to someone else, and therefore you need to get a license to import them. It doesn't make sense for us as knitters, because we usually use more than 3 skeins of the same color, especially for sweaters. But it makes sense for my country in terms of textiles, because skeins of yarns are within the textiles category. And then if you import t-shirts and you import more than 3 of the same in the same color and the same size, you're probably not going to use them for yourself. You're not going to wear those 3 or more t-shirts that you are importing, right? So 4 t-shirts that are the same color, the same style, and the same size, you're probably going to sell those at a store, and therefore you need a license to import those goods. And that's what happened with Rachel's parcel from Portland, Oregon. She had sent 6 skeins of the same yarn in the same color, and that's why DHL was not initially keen on clearing customs for me, because they said this falls into a category that you can't import directly as a consumer. You have to be an importer. So then I was again wondering how expensive would it be to buy yarn from Argentina. If I choose yarn from a dyer that I like, will they be able to ship with DHL? How expensive is shipping with DHL? And how expensive is it to get yarn into Argentina? So I wanted to do a little bit of a case study. I didn't want any dyer to send any yarn, because what happened is that one thing is to give up something that you've paid for at the customs office and say, well, it doesn't make any sense to get it out of the customs office for this money. If I have to pay $1,000 in taxes, it doesn't make sense to pay that much. Then I'll just give up those goods. But if someone like a dyer sent me that yarn as a gift, or with the hopes that I'll be working with that yarn, and then I just can't leave it in the customs office. You probably understand what I mean. So I didn't want to put myself in a position where I would either have to resign or abandon something at the customs office that was paid by someone else, or to be in a position where I might have to pay $1,000 to get a parcel out of the post office. So I said, I'll order some yarn, I'll pay for it myself, and I'll see what happens, how much it costs, and if it gets to me, if I order under 3 skeins or 3 or fewer skeins in the same color. So then I had to find someone who would ship with a private carrier, because not only my local post office won't clear customs for me, USPS is not shipping to Argentina anymore. So Barnyard Knits, Kim from Barnyard Knits offered once, said, if you ever want to order and want me to ship with DHL, I'll be happy to do so. So that's what I did. I'm talking a lot. I'm going to fast forward. I have beautiful yarn to show you. So it worked, but I also, if in case you're wondering how much it costs, or if you're in Argentina and maybe you are interested in my experience, I want to talk about how expensive it is and why I won't be doing it very, very often, but it's reassuring to know that I can if I want to. So shipping with DHL from a store in Shopify costs $60. So that's 400 grams or half a kilo of yarn, and it's $60 shipping. And I don't know if maybe Kim had to pay even more than that, because if I ask a friend to go to DHL and send me a private parcel, probably they'll have to pay over $100 in shipping, but I paid $60. And then the content of the box was around $100 in value. And yeah, so the invoice that was traveling with the goods was around $100. Then the parcel came very quickly. I had it in Argentina's customs maybe in 4 or 5 days from Philadelphia. And they sent me an email saying that it was in customs and they were going to clear it for me, and they charged me something like $60 in taxes. So that was expensive yarn, definitely. I know a lot of countries pay taxes. I don't know if that much with a private carrier, but probably. Will I do it again? I probably will do it again if I need to order yarn for a specific idea. I probably won't impulse buy yarn as I did when I was going to the States and I knew that I could bring in a suitcase full of yarn tax free. I don't mean VAT free, but without having to pay the taxes coming into my country. I would fill in suitcases of that. So I'm probably not going to impulse buy yarn, but I'm definitely going to order yarn again if I really feel like I need to. But I have to find vendors who can and will ship with a private carrier like DHL and FedEx. So that's happy news number one. So this is the yarn that I got. I have to be honest, I just wanted to do the experiment. I went into Kim's website and I ordered randomly gray yarn and I love it. I couldn't be happier with it. So this is what I got, 2 skeins of graffiti yarn, which is gray with gorgeous speckles in purple, moss green, and turquoise. The colorway is graffiti and the base is sock fingering. I've used this yarn before and it's beautiful. And I also got 2 skeins of this oyster color. So probably one of these 2 sets is going to be for my mom and I'm going to keep the other one. She's coming right after I finish recording this journal and she's doing very well. For those who always ask about my mom, she's doing fine. And yeah, so this one is the Barnyard Knits oyster. And I have to say that even though it's so expensive, I know that it's given a lot of my Argentine knitters hope, and now I feel like we can make the choice whether to order yarn or not, but it doesn't feel like it's so impossible anymore. Maybe you partner up with a friend and you share the shipping costs and then you pray for the best in terms of duties and taxes and everything. But I don't feel I never felt nervous because I couldn't get yarn because I have a big stash, but I didn't like that it was impossible to get something from the US. So good, that's good news. And stash enhancement number 1. Stash enhancement number 2 is super exciting too, and it also came from the States. When I ordered yarn from Barnyard Knits, I was texting with my good friends at Wool Folk in Portland, Oregon too, and I told them I am doing an experiment to see if I can get yarn from the States, and they had just released their newer yarn teasers. They had posted some images on Instagram, and I think I commented something like, oh, the yarn looks amazing, and they always said, well, we wish we could send some. And I think I commented like, oh, I'm trying this experiment to see how it works and if I can get yarn. And they were very kind to offer yarn, knowing that if it got stuck in customs, that it will be okay. And we have friendship going on, and I know that their feelings wouldn't be hurt, and they were happy to experiment with me to see what, you know, what crossing the border with sample yarn was like. And they used a different carrier. This time they used FedEx, and they sent a big box of yarn with a lot of skeins of the same. So I knew that it was going to get stopped by FedEx, and I was wondering if they were going to give me the same troubles as DHL with my first box. This time the yarn was traveling with an invoice that had a value of $54. Everything was marked as samples for my work, so they were sending me yarn at no cost, and it was marked as a lower value. And it came through. It came through in 1 week. It was here in Buenos Aires, and then FedEx contacted me and said that I had to pay duties for the parcel, even though it was marked as a sample, and the duties were for something like $85, 85 US dollars in duties. For me, it was excellent because I hadn't paid the yarn, I hadn't paid the shipping, and I love the yarn that I got. This time I picked it with my friend, and it's something that I'm very excited about. I have already design ideas reserved for it. So as you can imagine, it's a really good thing for me to be able to get all that yarn and just pay those duties. And yeah, so I just thought I would be really, you know, sincere with you all about what it's like to get the yarn in Argentina. And I'm very fortunate to have friends who are willing to experiment with me and who can afford to send me these samples for me to work with. And you know, I'm very, very happy. So yarn parcel number 2. It's a big box of yarn. I didn't bring all the yarn because many of the skeins are the same. First of all, I got to test with everyone else also, because usually when a new yarn gets released, I have to wait until I travel to the States to try that yarn. So I'm not usually the, you know, a designer who's working with the latest yarns, and you know, we just released this yarn and Joji already has a pattern with it. That's not me. And this time I feel like the yarn was released on Thursday and I got the yarn on Friday, so I felt very in the latest trends. And well, so with no further ado, this is Wool Folk Yarn's newest base that they kindly sent to me, and I love it. I asked for it and I was anxiously waiting for it, and it's all that I thought it would be. It's called Straw, and it's their linen blend. It's 50% merino, so they get their fiber from here, from Argentina. It's a super soft fiber. It's always 21 ultimate merino and 50% linen, and 1% of the profits of this wool comes back to Argentina, to an organization called Always 21, who develops super fine quality wool fibers. So this is the color S4, which is gray, and I'm planning to make a long cardigan, loosey, very Eileen Fisher style of garment. I have 10 skeins of these. These are 50 gram skeins, and they have a yardage of 164 yards per skein. So I'm already loving it with denim. And yeah, so this is one of the yarns of the sweater lots that Wool Folk sent me, and the other one was yarn for a specific design that I had in mind. So I was talking to my friend Miyoko, who works for their team, and we're close friends. We talk about design all the time, and she's very supportive with everything that I make, and she's sort of my liaison with Wool Folk, even though I'm good friends with Christine, the owner. I always talk about these things with Miyoko, and I was telling Miyoko, I have this color work sweater that I want to make that is based on an illustration by a friend of mine, and I don't have any yarn in my stash. I've been trying to use different colors. I've been trying to pull different colors and put them together, but I don't have, you know, all the colors required for this design. So she said we could put together a Wool Folk palette. It's a little bit more muted than the illustration, but all the colors work together. So she did that for me. So she sent these. These are Tove Decay. Tove. There you go. Tove Decay. And there's the content. It's 160 yards per skein. So these are very lofty yarns, and this is 100% Ovis Merino, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 100% Ovis Merino. I don't remember the colorway number for the caramel or gold, but this is so much my shade. And then she sent the color 8 is the sort of blush beige taupe. This is color 10, which is like a rusty red, and then the white is 00, and then the black is black. So these are all the colors that I received in Tove Decay, and I am hoping to put together a color work sweater soon. And yes, oh, I have in my old BA bag, I have already wound up one skein of the straw, and I plan to swatch with this later today to maybe make some calculations. Then stash or tool acquisition number 3. It came from a local shop. As you know, there's an importer called Buretex here in Buenos Aires, and they are bringing since last year super good tools that we weren't able to get for years and years and years. Since last year, Lucas, the owner, is investing in better materials for all the Argentine artisans, and a few weeks, maybe a week ago or 10 days ago, I saw that he had listed the set of Chiagu red lace needles in the smaller sizes. So these come from 2.75 millimeters to 5 millimeter, and they are interchangeable needles. They come in this case, or this case, which I don't really like. I prefer our Joji Co wallets a lot more, so they are already here. And so I am using the US 7s for my sweater over there, but you can see they have the interchangeable tips, and they come with the beautiful red cables that everyone loves. And yeah, so I like to store everything like this, and I can carry them more compact, and I can put them in my project bags easily. So I own now 3 sets of needles, which is unnecessary, but I justify them because I need them. So in this case, which is not as bad as the one that this came in, I have some of my Knit Picks needles that I bought maybe 12 years ago, and these look like that because I once washed a project with the needles on. So these are my Knit Picks needles, and they come with these purple cables, and I really like these needles. They were, when I bought them, way more affordable than other interchangeable needles. I made a big effort saving to buy this. They came in a very bad clear plastic pouch that I probably threw away some time ago and changed for one better, but now this is much better than the one they came in. And so these are the Knit Picks ones that are made by the same factory, I think, that now makes Knit Pro, but I bought these before Knit Pro were around. And I have to say, I only once had one of the cables disconnected from the screw not long before I got them, so probably that cable was defective from the factory. But then ever since, I've been able to use these needles a lot. My bigger numbers for needles, which are maybe 6 millimeters, 7 millimeters, I still only have the Knit Picks, and they are really good. And there are better needles, but I wouldn't have purchased another set because I needed one, to be honest. I just wanted to try different needles, and everyone was saying, you know, the Knit Picks, oh, I don't like them, or I don't like these, or why don't you try these other ones? And I have to say, I think they are really good. So these are the Nova metal ones, so they are nickel plated and they are just very good, and these are 12 years old. Then about 4 years ago, I had a few episodes in which I forgot my needles somewhere else and I didn't have a spare set, and I got nervous because I can't go to the yarn store and get needles easily here. Now I can, but at the time I couldn't. And so I figured that since this is my work and this is what I do for a living, if I'm left without my tools, then I don't know, I need to be guaranteed that I can knit, right? So I could at the time justify getting a second set of interchangeable needles. My first set was already 8 years old when I bought these ones, and I like these better than the Knit Picks, I have to say. And they were more expensive, but they are better needles if you ask me. That said, I didn't need to upgrade my needles. Like, I could knit just as much, but these make for a slightly more pleasant knitting experience, and I'll tell you why. So these are, again, these don't come in this wallet. These are our Joji Co wallets. So these are my Haya's interchangeable needles, and they are just the right sharp. I don't like sharp needles, so Haya makes them in the sharp and the regular version, and I got the regular version. I first got the sharp one and I couldn't use them because I was just stabbing my fingers all the time. Fortunately, I found someone who was interested in purchasing that from me, so I could get myself a new set of regular Haya interchangeable needles. Hayas come with a blue cable, and what I like about this cable is that it rotates like that. It rotates, as you can see, and they are very slick, so I feel like my knitting goes very, very fast with this, maybe faster than with the knit picks. And they do get this coil shape, and one of my cables, only one, has at the point where it connects with the screw, it's kind of like bent, and I've tried to adjust it. It doesn't really bother me when I'm knitting, but it's just something that I noticed that doesn't happen in other, or not that much with other ones. This one is like more bent than the other ones, but it's fine. And yeah, none of my cables was broken or got broken during the time that I've owned them for 4 years. And what I like about my Hayas also, for some reason they very rarely unscrew from the cable, very, very rarely. Yes, so those are my Hayas, and they are 4 years old, and 4 or 5, 4 years old, and a little bit more. And my Chaya Goose, I really like them, but they are a little bit sharper, not a lot. They are not super sharp. They are not as sharp as some fixed ones that I've seen. I also feel like maybe it's because they are new, I feel like they are not as sleek as the Hayas, so my stitches don't slide as fast. But they are amazing quality, very similar to Hayas, the tips. And the cable, the red cable that comes with this one, doesn't get that coiled effect as the Haya, so it stays like this, but it doesn't rotate, right? So it doesn't rotate. So maybe that's why with me these unscrew a little bit more than the Haya, so it's a balance. So you get the cable without all the coils and wrinkles, but then because it doesn't rotate, perhaps it acts more on the screws, and these come undone a bit more. Yes, they come with a key that you can use to adjust them and to make them tighter. I haven't tried it. It looks like it won't fit there. No, okay, you have to use it there. It comes with a key that you can use to add more pressure, so you can make sure they don't come undone. But to be honest, I hate to go look for that key, and it's here in my pouch, but I don't like to get it off every time that I have to change my needle, and so I just don't. So that's my little review on my 3 sets of needles. I have a 12-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-week-old. I can't say how these hold up in time. I've only heard good things about them. I'm excited to have them, and I like all my needles. If I have to be honest, I use these two. I don't use the knit picks anymore because these two feel better, and there is a difference. But the knit picks are still really good needles. And if you can see in my current project, one of the perks of having more needles is that I can leave the original needle I was using with the red cable in my bag as my stitch holder, and now I'm using my other needle in the same size for the front with my blue cable. So that's my little very uninfluenced knitting review, because I purchased all of my needles. And then what else do I want to talk to you about? Okay, I talked about the knit along. I took 2 webinars since I last recorded. I was lucky enough to be able to get a spot in 2 of Stephen West's webinars. I signed up for the shawl shapes webinar maybe 3 weeks ago, and I loved it so much. It was one of the best decisions I made. I signed up because I thought, oh, that's cool. I've worked at the same events as Stephen many times, but I'm always working, and that means that I haven't been able to take many classes. Only once I have been able to take classes. And so I took this opportunity to learn from him. He was giving a lecture on shawl shapes, and I thought, you know, yes, I want to hear everything he has to say about shawl shapes. I love learning more. I learned a lot of things, and yeah, I enjoyed it so much that as soon as I heard he was teaching one on color play, I signed myself up. So I just finished, right after I finished that webinar, I am recording this journal, and if you have the opportunity and the means to join one of his webinars, I highly recommend you do so. The atmosphere is so much fun. He's a wonderful teacher, entertainer, inspirer, enabler, and I really enjoyed being in his virtual company. So that was Color Play and Shawl Shapes webinar by Stephen West, and they are hosted and organized by Stephen and Penelope. And yeah, I highly recommend those. I was also part of a chat 10 days ago for one of Vogue Knitting's virtual knitting lives. So these are virtual events where there are teachers and classes, just like in traditional international events where people used to gather in hotels and classrooms and marketplaces. Now everything is virtual. You're not in a hotel, you're in your room, and the classrooms are Zoom rooms, and the marketplace are virtual marketplace. So I didn't teach for this event, but I was invited by kind and sweet Denise Byron. She's a knitwear designer, and her handle name, Instagram, and everything is called Byron Handmade. And Denise invited my friend Vero and we both host a Spanish-speaking podcast called Las Knit Amigas, and she invited us to join her for a Zoom chat as part of the event's extras. So anyone who paid a marketplace ticket, they had access to a little list of extras, so chats, interviews, maybe discounts. I don't know all the details, but I know that we were part of the extras, and that was fantastic. We spent an hour talking to the niece and the organizers, and I got really excited. I have to be honest, at first I was not so sold on the idea of virtual events. I didn't think that they could deliver the same joy as an in-person event does. But after taking myself Stephen's class, it completely changed my mind. I finished that webinar smiling, inspired, full of ideas. I was home. I didn't have to travel to a foreign country. It was much more accessible, both in terms of financial cost and mobility. So yeah, as soon as Vogue asked me if I wanted to participate of that, I said yes, and I participated. I have to be careful with what I say yes to in the future, because I know that there are so many other events and I really can't take place in every event, but I'm really happy that I was able to take part both as student and as speaker in two of them. So if you've been on the fence about maybe doing online courses, my suggestion is go for it. You'll enjoy them. And in the future I've said yes to Barcelona Knits. This is an online version of the event that was going to take place this November, and I was not able to travel to it. I was not going to be one of their teachers. But after they canceled the in-person event, they asked me if I could teach online, and I said yes. So there will be more details coming out in September, but I will be teaching for them 2 classes in English. So that's about talks and seminars that I've taken. And before I say bye-bye, I'm going to talk a little bit about our online store, Joji Co. So if you're not interested at all in that part of my work and business, I'm sorry that I talked about the books before, but I am going to talk about what's going on in the shop for maybe 5 minutes. If you don't want to stay, thanks for joining us so far, and see you next time. At Joji Co, we are growing. This is a business that has suddenly taken over at least half of my time, maybe not in the last few weeks, because I've been very focused on my design work and doing photography and planning for the book, and I've left my team take over some of my chores for the company, but half of my creative time is now dedicated to Joji Co. It's a company that's making me truly happy. Everything that I'm making with Joji Co is new, exciting. It doesn't mean that I love knitting any less. It's just that I've discovered something else that I seem to be really good at, and I seem to really enjoy, and it makes a lot of people happy, and it's just unexpected, joyful, and it's just all around good news. So I needed a mint because I'm coughing a lot. So first of all, I'm going to show you a few things that we have in the shop this week, or that I am uploading to the show as I am talking about them here on the journal. So first of all, you probably saw me talk about my 2 needle wallets. I knew that I was going to talk about them, so I didn't want you to not find them if you go looking for them. We just received a little batch in neither of these 2, so it's not black with contrasting stitching or this saddle color, but it's a lovely chocolate brown, and it's the same quality as these two. So you can find those in the shop right now. So August 22, we don't have a ton, but they are really nice, and I highly recommend. As you can see, I love mine, and they are big enough for 10 pairs of tips. I would say that up to 5 millimeter fit comfortably. If you have bigger than that, you probably need one slot for each of your needles. And yes, they are compact and they are travel size. I always like to carry my needles with me, so I think of items that I can store in a pocket if I want to, in one of my pockets like that. I prefer smaller items and maybe having two, one for each needle brand, and then I put these in my drawer and I can find them easily and I know what I want. Yeah, so you have the slots for the needles, and then behind you have separate compartments for all the accessories like keys, stitch markers, little scissors, and everything's hidden behind the needles, but it's a big compartment, so you can store anything that's this big here, and there's another separate compartment here, so you can keep everything very organized. What I do is I use this one for my cables, so just cables, so that they don't get damaged, and then the other compartment I use for scissors and stitch markers and things like that. So those are in the shop now. Then something very happy. Oh, you probably saw me wearing this notion scarf while I was talking throughout the podcast. So I'm going to make sure that we have stock of these black ones. They had sold out, but we just received a small batch. So these are our leather notion scarves that I always wear. Inside you can store little notions. I like to keep in hand my darning needle. I like to keep a little piece of tape measure, and I like to keep a lot of stitch markers. So that's always with me whenever I am knitting, whenever I'm reaching a part of my design that I have to measure, I have to decide whether to go on or to stop, like the armholes and such. I can measure, and I have my tape measure with me, my markers and everything, and that's that. Those are now in the shop. These are called notion scarves, and we have the bejeweled version with these little, not little, but precious studs. And we also have, let me see if I have my other one. And we also have the plain version, which is more casual looking in a wax suede material. And what I really wanted to tell you about for Joji Co this week is that we have a new drawstring bag for our Joji Fall Knit Along 2020. We sometimes make these fun screen printed items that we ask a local workshop to make for us. They are wonderful people. We know where everything is made. Everything's made with Argentine fabrics, and everything's made in a sustainable and ethical way. And yes, so we made these drawstring bags. They are big enough for a lot of yarn. So I'm going to put all my skeins of yarn inside for you to see. Now I have about 500 grams of yarn, 600, 700, and 8. 900. Yeah, so that's all my yarn. They have a little handle that you can use to carry them if you want to knit as you go. Maybe not this much, but you can carry them on the side, and they have a cotton cord drawstring closure and the illustration. The illustration was made by my friend Laura. She's my neighbor and friend, and we met at the school. We were both school moms, and she's very talented. I've always been a fan of hers, and when we decided to start planning the fall knit along for this year, now that I'm working with her for Joji Co, I thought I'm gonna ask Laura to create an image that we can use to remember and to celebrate this knit along. So this is what Laura came up with. It's a celebration of all of us knitting for the knit along. There's a bunch of our knitters, and there are projects and flying yarn and wraps and mittens and hats and colorwork sweaters that I've never designed and a lot of fun things like beanies and socks. And yeah, so this is our very special bag for the fall knit along. Yeah, so you can find it at Joji Co. This bag is cheaper than our minimum shipping expense, just because we have to ship with DHL, and our minimum shipping to the US is a little bit more than this bag costs. And I know that a lot of people complain saying it makes no sense to buy a bag when the shipping is more expensive than the bag. Well, we don't think that that's a reason to make the bag any more expensive. What we recommend is that you maybe combine shipping with a friend, and we can pack a lot of these bags in a minimum shipping charge, and or maybe you want to get something else from our store. We have leather project bags, we have wallets, we have notion scarves, we have books, we have interpretations books, we have a lot of things that you can get to make the most of that shipping fee. And yeah, and of course we will be drawing a lot of these project bags as prizes for our knit along for sure. We want, you know, we want to spread Laura's drawing and image. We want to, you know, we want to send it around and send love everywhere to the world. So there are lots of opportunities to get one of these little bags. And speaking of the illustration, this illustration was made for us, and that means that you can use it. It was commissioned for our knit along. You can, you know, right click on the image or hold your finger on the image and save it to your camera roll or to your files, and then use it as a badge to identify your projects, or if you just like it and want to look at it or print it at your house and have it displayed somewhere. It's absolutely okay. It was created for everyone to use. We decided to print our bags and then so that, you know, people can carry their projects in them, but it's yours to use if you want to. So that being said, I think that for Joji Co, the only remaining thing is that we haven't had a lot of project bags in our warehouse for a couple of weeks in our own shop, because we've been producing bags for our retailers. We had stopped producing for our retailers when COVID started here in Buenos Aires, and under lockdown circumstances we didn't know how we were going to be able to supply everyone and ourselves, and we decided in July to open up to ask our current retailers if they wanted to place an order. We didn't take any new retailers. We just asked the ones that we already had if they wanted to order anything else. And we've been fulfilling those orders. So make sure you check out our list of wholesale shops in our website, jojico.com. because they'll be receiving soon a lot of beautiful project bags. And yeah, so that's that for Joji Co, I think. And I hope you like this journal. I hope that it was fun for you to catch up with what I've been up to, and I hope you'll join our fall knit along and see you hopefully when we do the live video for the first day of the knit along. So see you soon and many hugs. Bye bye.